Greetings, it's Daryl Sims here with another video, and today we're going to be talking about how to solo with chord progressions. The key word here is with. A lot of people tend to solo over chord progressions, essentially just taking the minor pentatonic scale and just whizzing all around the neck with that. But we're going to be learning how to solo with and complement the chord progression that we're playing over. This lesson is a kind of follow-up on the previous lesson where I taught you John Mayer's Slow Dancing in a Burning Room live in LA, the intro parts of that in specific. And we're going to be expanding on that and targeting specific intervals as we follow through the chord progression of that song. So we're going to be talking about the piece that I played at the beginning of the video, how I came up with that and how I complemented the chord progression. Now first off, the chord progression is C sharp minor into A into E. Three simple chords there, and the first thing that should come to mind is your minor pentatonic scale in C sharp. You can take that scale and you can have great fun with that already, but we're going to take that scale, maybe the minor scale as well, expand on this and target specific notes which complement the following chord. So let's make a start with the first phrase, and it sounds like this. So notice there how I started off with a relatively simple pentatonic phrase. I played the root note to highlight that I'm playing a C minor chord of some sort here. And then I descended with some kind of double stop patterns here. So that was just a major third, perfect fourth, another major third here on the G and B strings. And then wrap my thumb around, target that root note. Now these notes that I just finished on, your major third and your fifth of A, which is perfect. So those three notes highlight our A chord. So there's the first thing that I want to highlight. As I moved from the C sharp minor into the A, I knew that I needed to target either the 1, 3, or 5th degrees of the A in order to complement that chord as I move into it. So I was aiming for one of those notes, the 3 or the 5. Conveniently, I managed to get both. But if you just get one, that's perfect. That's going to help you follow on to the next chord. Let me give you the next example now. So from here, so what I did there, essentially the melody is, and I'm playing that over that E. Okay, so we're going from the 2nd degree into the major third of E. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3. And again, to back that note up from 2 to 3, I also play these two notes here, which is your 5th and your root note of E. So I get 3 notes here, and then I hammer on with that little finger, and that completes another triad there, an E major triad. Now you may begin to wonder, how do I know where these notes are and how can I find them so quickly? And the thing is, if you know your cage system across the neck, if you know how to play all of your cage shapes in C sharp minor, A, and E, then you should hopefully be able to find at least your root notes relatively quickly. So as you pass through the progression, maybe you can begin by targeting the root notes. As you get more confident, if you know where your thirds and your fifths are, or your minor third, if you're in C sharp minor, then you can also target those notes as you pass through the progression. And you don't need to hit just one of those. You can hit 2 if you want, you can hit 3, you can hit as many as you want, as long as you target those specific notes. If you don't target those notes and you just play random notes of C sharp minor, maybe you hit the 2nd degree of A, it's going to sound a bit dissonant, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. I'm not encouraging you to always follow the chord progression, but it's a good habit to get into to be able to know where these notes are if you want to target them. So I encourage you, if you're not already familiar with the cage system, get on that, because that's going to help you locate these 1, 3, and 5 degrees all over the neck. And relative to what we've just done, this chord here comes from our A shape of the E chord here. Okay? Moving on from there, we have this descent into the C sharp minor. So we have, so again the melody is, okay, which leads us into that C sharp minor. That's my minor third that I sort of end on there and begin on. And then we have, there we go, we descend back into that A. I'm sort of setting myself up for it. Let's analyze that. So from the start here, this is a kind of minor 7 shape actually, but I'm specifically highlighting that minor third. So I hammer on, and then this is the 5th degree of C sharp minor. These are my key notes here. And then I slide into these 2 notes, which is your 5th and your root of C sharp minor. And then I do another sort of descent into that A, as I already explained. That's just some more double stops, a couple major thirds, and a perfect 4th. From that descent, if we now focus on the A, we would have okay. So once again, the key notes there. I play this note. This is just a second, a major second. Doesn't really have any relevance to what I'm talking about, but it's a very nice note that I can throw in the middle. And then that actually helps us follow into the next phrase, which again highlights an E major triad shape. Now, that actually is derived from either a D shape, depending on how you look at it, but I see it as more of the top of a C shape. Okay, so that would be our root note. And I'm just taking the bottom 2 notes of that shape along with the open E string. Okay, and that just creates a double stop feel. So hopefully you can begin to see how I'm targeting some of these cage shapes as I pass through the progression. From this E, I'm now going to ascend into the C sharp minor. So we've got just a noodly phrase there if I play that slowly. Okay, so the key notes here is that I'm ascending and then descending into that root note of the C sharp minor. Noodling around with some pentatonic notes there, some more double stop playing. And then, now before I sort of expand on that, how do we get from here to here? Now this note in specific, which we just played to finish there, or at least one of, this note is our 5th degree of A, which is perfect. And this note and this note are the same, that's just an E. Okay, so I've just transferred that note up there. And then we have, now this is quite cool because a lot of those notes are a little bit dissonant, and then I hammer on with that 3rd finger to kind of resolve it into the E, because that's our major third. If I don't hammer on, well, it still sounds cool, but it's not what we're going for. We're trying to follow the chord progression here, which is why I hammer on to that major third. So that phrase from the end of the previous sounds like this. So again, I'm just descending into that C sharp minor here. I'm playing it in a different position this time though. So depending on how you look at it, in relevance to the C sharp minor, we're descending, we've got 4, minor third, major second, and your root, okay? And then this is kind of a minor 7 shape, which contains our 5th and 3rd, which are our target notes here. And then I just improvise some kind of quick slide thing here. But conveniently I finish on this note, which is our major third of A. So I'm always thinking ahead of what's coming next. In this instance, I'm aiming for that major third. So it doesn't matter what I do before, as long as I hit that major third just before the next chord, that's how I'm playing with the chord progression. So from that sort of noodly line, that would be the next bit there. That major third sets us up for a G shape. And then I pull off from the 2nd to the 1st fret on the G string, which leads us into our major third of E. And that just highlights our straight E major chord there. And I loop that phrase in the style of John Mayer, just as he does in the live version. He jumps between the A and the E chord a few times before the song begins. So we're going to do the same kind of thing to kind of conclude this melody. I'm going to repeat the A and E there 2 times. then 1/3 of our time, and then at the end there, I finish on that beautiful sus chord just to give it a little bit of suspense and tension at the end there. Because the thing is, if you follow chord progressions entirely all the time, every time you change chords, your music is gonna be a little bit predictable. So we wanna create a little bit of tension and suspense in there, which is why I specifically finished on that chord, because I have been following the chord progression throughout this entire melody. But as I said, I just want you to remember that it's okay to just noodle over the pentatonic scale and have fun and not really have to think much about what you're doing. But at the same time, it's equally wise to balance that by following the chord progression some of the time. So there we go, that's everything that I want to share with you today. If there's just one thing that you take away from this lesson, it's that I want you to target specifically the 1, 3, and 5 intervals of the chord that you will be playing next in the progression. Whether it's this progression or your own progression, those notes are key notes that you want to target if you want to play with the chord progression that you're playing over. The very last thing that I want to mention is that if you want to download a tab for this piece or help support more content like this, then please check out my Patreon in the description below. Or if you want a greater understanding of intervals and where to find them across the neck, the cage system, things like that, then check out my practical guitar theory course, which is also linked in the description below. As I often say, if you come up with your own creations, please post them on Instagram and tag me at Darryl Sims. I'd love to see what you guys come up with. And until next time, I will see you in the next video.